Good evening and welcome to the Wilton Town Council Policy and Resources Committee meeting, the 18th of March 2025. First item on the agenda is to receive any apologies. Okay. Second item is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of January 2025.
There were two minor typos that were pointed out by a member of the public. One was it said Acton instead of action, and the other one it said Ms. instead of Mrs. They have been corrected.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank the member of the public for pointing that.
I then propose that those minutes are now correct. Have a seconder? Councillor Forbes, all in favour?
Yep.
I now suspend standing orders for a period of community engagement, 15 minutes set aside to allow local people to raise their issues and concerns. Do I have any points to be raised from Mr. Matthews?
Yes, I did raise a question before about the collapse of the ceiling in the chapel cemetery. I asked, was insured, and the town clerk said yes, it was insured. I don't know what the council intends to do about this. It's a lasting plaster ceiling. It's probably over 135 years old, probably done in 1891 when the chapel was built. And I did, if there's any craftsmen about there could repair a lasting plaster ceiling, it probably have to be plasterboard. Most insurance would cover all. I just don't know. It's something that I'd be interested to know what the council intends to do. But at the moment, you couldn't use the chapel anyway for service. It's all over the floor, all the plaster covered down.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Alexandra Boyd.
I would like to know whether the town council would maybe review its policy on handling public meeting recordings. So when you request a recording, obviously you have to bring in a sealed memory stick, and then you pick it up and you sign for it, which is all very well. I had bought a new memory stick, but it wasn't sealed in the way as it should have been. It was in a sealed Ziploc bag thing, and that wasn't approved to be used. So I thought, and which probably would save time as well, if the meetings are recorded anyway as they are going on, would they not be put on SharePoint? And I think that would save an awful lot of time. And we've got Office 365 and SharePoint. Why not use it and use it for the potential what it gives us?
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from those on Teams?
Yes, I have a question, please.
Could you give your name, please?
Sue Robinson.
Thank you, Sue.
Right. The full council voted at the meeting in October last year for the town clerk to amend her role to enable her to focus on the finances of the town council. In January of this year, the town council employed a part-time temporary officer to the town so that the clerk could be relieved of a substantial part of her duties. This was to allow the clerk to concentrate on 1, writing meeting agendas, and 2, updating council finances. The taxpayers of Wilton are already paying extra for an external minute taker and an architect for form filling regarding the retrospective planning applications for windows and notice boards. The agenda for tonight's meeting states that you will be considering extra support to complete the end of year finances. My first question is, why would you pay money for someone else to help with the end of year finances when this is the primary job of the clerk, who is the responsible financial officer? Having the temporary support officer has reduced the clerk's workload. The agenda for tonight's meeting also states that you will be considering extra support to complete the HMRC VAT inquiry. So my second question is, again, why would you pay more money for someone else to help with the HMRC VAT inquiry, a job the responsible financial officer is already being paid to do? I can see cut and pasted into the clerk's officer report a sales pitch from an accountant aimed at someone who is new to being a clerk, someone that might need help. My third and last question is it normal to pay 3 times for end of year accounts? Because you're going to be paying an in-house financial officer, followed by an accountant, and then an auditor. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the team's participants?
No questions, but it's a comment about asking the clerk to speak louder. I realised I wasn't speaking very loud as I said it.
Okay. Then I'll.
I've got
Oh,
a
sorry.
couple of things, if I may, please. Thank you, Chair. So my first comment is, and I'm not sure if this is for P&R committee, but as I'm going to ask if we can have a standing item on agenda, which is to the effect of health and safety report. And I think perhaps that maybe should be on full council agenda each month. I'm not sure, or maybe this committee. I'm not sure. I'd see people's opinion on that. And my second thing is, so regarding the pavilion, and I know this is, you could say this is E&A, but it's, you'll realise why I'm raising it now. So we've done, I and my husband have, he's scanned on a lot of the as-built documents for the pavilion. And at 50p a page, he's saved £180, this committee, in doing that. And similarly, we contacted Michael Lyons, the pavilion architect, and we got the original drawings. And they were, to get them scanned on would have been £90. So that's a good thing. Now that we've got those, he's created drawings like this with the, you know, like you call them drawings, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes, floor plans. And the beauty of that is you create a base one, and then you can add in this case, fire doors, or in this case, emergency exits, and you can add each layer and look at that. Now, my question is, this software, it's a one-off payment of £17.99. And my question is, please will council authorise the purchase of that? I would also mention, of course, if you would contract out this work, which is essential health and safety work, because we need it to maintain the records and record work, and as and when it's done, and an outside professional person to do that, I don't know, probably £200 or £300 a day, I suspect. I don't know. And yes, he has got experience doing this from his Merchant Navy experience. So yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay.
So one from me. At full council last, we agreed to put to P&R discussion around allowing the carnival to have the pavilion free of charge. It's not on the P&R agenda.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I would ask that the chair can consider this part of the financial review, maybe later in the agenda, because we did commit putting it to P&R at full council.
Okay. Okay, so I'll now reinstate standing orders, and we'll try and respond to matters raised by the public. First item from Mr. Matthews, the ceiling collapse. I understand the age of the ceiling that's there. Obviously, from the town council point of view, the first thing is to work out why the ceiling collapsed, which I think need to be addressed before we go in there and start putting plasterboard up, if it's a problem with the chimney or something like that. So, yeah, so I think those things would have to be done first, and then there may be people out there who are familiar with lath and plaster, but we'd have to take whatever advice we got at the time from the various contractors who try and get to do that work. But the primary response first would be to see what caused it to collapse in the first place, which was probably ingress of water. Okay. Alexandra, the review on policy on public meeting recording. Correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues. Is there a planned review of recording with regard to now that we're using Teams, that stuff would be going as a recording onto our server?
I thought we
You voted this through.
accepted
Yeah.
a new policy.
So that's already through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just needs, the policy just needs to be published.
The members of the public have access.
No, but that's not in the policy. I can't remember what the policy says.
Yeah. But that's
But no, but in terms of what the member of the public has asked for, that can be facilitated via the policy that's been approved in full council, and it can be shared. There'll be a recording that can be made available.
okay. So
It's shared directly.
the process is already sort of one step ahead, and that should be part of the way forward. Okay.
We do need to get the policy published though.
Okay, so for Sue Robinson, October last year, why are we proposing to get extra support in to finish off financial, basically to finish off financial issues at the end of this year? We have already used contractor for doing the planning applications for the windows. Basically, because the way I see it, the clerk cannot be an expert in all areas. So where we would need those skills bringing in, such as an architect, we would have to pay for those people to support us. Would that be a fair response?
We've already approved that.
Yes, yes. Well,
I think the question might be more about the
the next
end
step,
of year stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so the next step was responding to HMRC.
The one about the end of year, because there were two.
Oh, sorry.
So the end of year. I'm still on my own in the office. I've spent the last 2 days trying to work, 3 days trying to do finance. I'm constantly interrupted. And that is why I put it on there. If I can just block out everything else, I can get it done. But with all the interruptions,
Okay,
you can't do it at the moment. And as I pointed out to Councillor last year, with the assistant clerk we did, she did 5 weeks of 5 hours a day, so we paid her 25 hours.
Okay.
5 weeks
a week.
5
weeks
weeks,
a week.
5 hours a week. Yeah, not 5 hours a day.
Yeah,
Slight difference.
Sorry. Yeah, so
okay.
it was 25 hours.
Hopefully, the appointment of a deputy clerk will assist very greatly in the matter of being able to deal with all these issues in-house rather than have to go outside and pay for them. That will apply to your second question with regard to HMRC.
HMRC, it's not.
Excuse me, but I couldn't hear what the clerk was saying, so I didn't actually hear what the reasons were.
It's officer time. In short, I don't have the time to do everything because I can't concentrate on it because I'm constantly interrupted. Phone calls, people popping into the office, funerals, meetings.
So hopefully with having 2 people in the office area, those tasks will be easier to accomplish by either going to a separate area where you can concentrate on them, or having your deputy taking the calls from members of the public or outside organisations. So we're hoping that with getting more office staff in, some of these issues will now be less of a problem for us. Is that okay?
Asking me, because no, it's not okay. I think it's disgraceful.
Well, we have one person in an office that is supposed to have 84 hours of support.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I must interject. This gets quoted, and I would say misquoted, on more than one occasion, to my knowledge. 84 hours is what the SLCC stated the council required to deliver on the precept. Okay, we are not delivering the output that we should be on our precept because we don't have the officer hours. So we are not expecting, it's a fallacy to say that we're expecting the clerk to deliver everything that's expected of the council with this precept, because we're not. And we haven't been, and we've been, to the member of the public's point, been raising this since last year to say that we're not expecting that. Focus on the finances, focus on the agendas, let us know what cannot be achieved. That is what has been said. So the 84 hours, I'm afraid, I need to correct you on that. We are not, it does need 84 hours for the output that we would expect of a council of this precept. We have reduced the output. And the output has been reduced since the assistant to the deputy clerk resigned.
The 84 hours is the ideal
Optimal.
scenario.
Optimal.
Yes,
Yes.
we're not asking this clerk to do 84 hours worth of work.
No.
You know, so I agree with Chris, it's misleading to say we have one person doing what has been recommended. And that was also only one person's opinion, you know, this 84 hours. So
Was that not repeated previously? Was that not the same sort of hours that were in the previous report that the town council received?
what previous report? Oh, what in 20, whenever it was, 17 or
2017,
17 or 18, yeah.
Okay,
No, and
but we approved that report, didn't we?
we accepted the report, we didn't necessarily agree with it. That's 2 different things.
We accepted the report, but we have not increased the workload.
No.
That's the fundamental, and that's why I feel so passionate about this, because we keep talking about it being 84 hours, but the clerk is not asked to do anywhere near 84 hours worth of work. And, you know, it's not, the output is way below. You just need to look at our income and expenditure to see how low the output is, how much money is going to be left over this year, and how many inaccuracies there are. So it's just not true to say that we need 84 hours right now, because we are not doing that output. We're not expecting it, more importantly.
I would like to say that I feel that if we get that support that we're looking for, then we can come back to this and say, yes, it's worked or not. No, it hasn't. We don't. In terms of improving the output that the members of the public are expecting from this council.
Yes, but we made a commitment to the members of the public that we would ask the clerk to focus on the finances and the agendas and nothing else, and to let us know what could not be achieved so that we could then take appropriate action and mitigation to reapportion that work elsewhere at our discretion. That has not been forthcoming to date, and we are now, second time, just past the 6-month window, going to be debating again why we need financial support. But I'm conscious we are drifting into the debate.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, I will, briefly.
I would just like to say.
You haven't answered my third question.
I'm only Well, I'm finished. I'm just taking a question from a member of the public in relation to this, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So I can see what you're saying, and I totally see what Charlotte and Chris are saying. The thing is, we are still at the point where there is no time for this, there is no time for that, and people copy in and phone calls. But we've got few councillors who are doing a lot of stuff, what isn't their job, and don't get paid for it. We've got another member of staff now who does a lot of things as well. So all of that is taken away already, but you know, the clerk is saying there is still not enough time. But there isn't, like when I was still on the council, when we asked for a breakdown of what exactly help is needed with, so that there is some time created. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll reinstate standing orders and
Could,
return.
sorry, could I speak, please? Sorry, I didn't speak before. It's Maria.
Yes, Maria?
Hello, I just wanted to mention the precept. I don't think the precept is a very good method of working out the amount of work in at the town council. The reason being, it was around 2010, I wrote to the town council, and Peter Edge, I think, must have been the chair then, because he emailed me back, and it was a time after the terrible bankers crash, and the government had nationally said that the precepts should be frozen throughout the country, council tax should not go up. And Wilton Town Council put up their council tax precept by £25 overnight, which was a huge jump. And so I wrote to the council, and Peter Edge came back with me. He said it had been put up such a huge amount because to keep the car parking free in Wilton. We were taking on South Street car park, and I suppose perhaps to pay for, I don't know, Wiltshire Council parking attendants to look round it. £25 per household was put on the precept, which seemed high to me. But that actually generates absolutely zero work for the town council, because parking, it doesn't come under your remit. That's just one example. You know, and it depends on what facilities you have actually under the jurisdiction of the town council, which we don't have very many. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the way I read this, that we have to, again, I accept what Councillor Harrison is saying. We're back where we need to get support in to complete HMR requirements with a time deadline. And we've got accounts to finish by the end of the year with time deadlines. We did this last year with Liz helping out up till May. And I'm afraid my opinion, my personal opinion, is until we get a stable, regular support level in the office, we will have what has been asked, issues where the clerk cannot do all that is being asked of her as the one person in the office. And so I'm just hoping that with the new appointee that we will see an improvement in the productivity of the office. But to comply with the requirements to the end of this financial year, we will have to buy in some support time to meet our targets. So unfortunately, we will be paying for people to assist with, will we?
No,
Oh,
Mr. Chair, we haven't
sorry.
had that debate
Sorry.
yet.
Sorry. We will be discussing whether we will be supporting the request to get additional financial support into the office for the next 4 weeks, sometime like that.
HMRC is purely the partial exemptions calculation.
Okay. Have I, and I know I probably haven't answered your 3 questions, Sue, but I cannot see what else I can say.
The orders are in, right?
Councillor Blackman,
Yeah.
can we have a standing item on the agenda such as a health and safety report?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's best for this
that be-
committee or for full council. I take other people's view on that.
Would that be mainly E&A?
Well, I think all councillors need to be, I've just answered my own question. I think all councillors should be kept up to speed with health and safety matters. And it's not just E&A, it would be ER&R as well, because there would be occasions where there's money involved and.
Both committees. Okay, yes, I would support that as being a, but then-
I would,
you're-
okay, but full council as well, because we don't know the profile obviously for next year, but we must big up health and safety. I still can't think of a better
Okay,
expression.
I
And I
understand
think
where you're
it
coming from.
warrants a section. I mean, there may be months where there's nothing to report.
Yes.
But there may be months where the clerk's been on some training or we've just bought some new fire doors or something. And I think members need to be kept, it needs to be kept in their minds.
Just, I put on both, but actually should it be on three?
That's
On
what-
staffing.
Well,
Both
I don't mind,
I would say the only thing with staffing is we don't have quite the same regular meetings as.
I don't think we've got staffing health and safety.
Yeah,
Mm.
true. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
and
Yeah.
if there's trainings to be discussed, maybe,
yes.
or feedback from trainings or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay, so I endorse that has been a,
Is that agreed? Great,
Yes.
brilliant, thank you. Oh, and,
on the software.
yeah,
I would support it.
We need to support it under finance. then.
Yeah, but when we come to the monetary matters, we'll just add that into council money.
thank you.
Shall we discuss this at this point with regard to pavilion hire charge for carnival?
Well, I haven't had a chance to speak to Amanda, which was what I was going to do.
Why do we need to speak to us?
She was going to find out what cover, insurance cover and stuff.
Was
We
it
were
really?
debating whether we had to charge to give them insurance cover and. Chris
Fine,
thought
let's
that-
charge them £1.
Just, it just needs to complete the form.
Mm.
You just charge them. Just need to complete the form.
We can't make a decision on that because it's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda because I'm not done anything.
But we'll put that to full council. Yeah, as a,
Can't the chair decide under public questions?
No, because you can't make a decision.
I'm happy to just do it in 2 weeks' time. If you're okay with that on the 31st.
It will be in the next financial year anyway. So it could be done at the EA.
If we're going to make a decision on that software, that's not the same.
Exactly, I'm just, yeah.
We can't do one and not the other, surely.
Mm.
We either do both or we don't do either.
The software is £17.99. The pavilion was discussed
That's
last year
that's a policy change, isn't it?
and I haven't had a chance to research it. And to look back at why the decision was made last year when they made the request that the committee said, no, we're going to charge you.
But does any of that matter? I hear what you're saying, Claire, but does any of that matter? History, does it matter?
Well, it could be challenged at the ultravires.
Let's put a motion forward and full council on the 31st. of October.
Okay, as long as it
Yeah.
doesn't get forgotten, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know, some it was you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Nobody gone anyway.
Right, thank you. That's concluded the responses to matters raised by the public. So I'll move on to the next item, which is declaration of interest. Any declarations of interest on matters contained in this agenda?
I suppose I have now that you've moved that item, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be in the pay schedule.
It's a bit of a difficult one because I didn't know it before,
No, I realise
Yeah.
that.
and I haven't got an invoice for it.
Well, you have now.
So,
You will have in a
well, I
minute.
haven't. Got an invoice for it.
Made it. I think the
Could-
chair can decide how to handle it, but if it's going to be decided in this meeting, then yes, I have an interest. I would hope it's decided in this meeting because obviously work is moving apace.
So the next item will be to consider any dispensation requests. Have we any items for exclusion of the press and public? I have none. Okay, moving on to item 26, replacement of heaters at the sports pavilion. This was an agenda request item, which I believe requested.
Yeah, I hope it's quite self-explanatory. I'll take any questions if they're not too technical.
As you're probably aware, Charlotte had a conversation with
Yeah,
Pete on this,
yeah,
and I have no problems with the change of the heating system
Yeah.
because the current ones can be fiddled with. And if we're looking at a heating system in the pavilion that can be controlled remotely to switch things on ahead of time, you don't want to find out that somebody's turned it off mechanically
yeah,
and the system isn't working,
yeah,
because you don't know that. You'll turn it on remotely and be oblivious.
Yeah.
So the pin control that the modern heater will provide. But our discussion sort of went along the lines of, well, there's a whole, it's now getting into, there's a whole gamut of interfacing issues in the pavilion that need to be addressed as a whole. So
Right.
do we go ahead and buy all three here? Because I'd suggested to Pete, maybe we could buy two, but 3 kilowatt ones rather than 3 2 kilowatt ones, and just replace the two that are in the hall.
My response to that is, you may have noticed the other day, in fact, when we were in there, that end of the room doesn't get heated up because, of course, school physics. The heat comes out of the radiator, goes a certain distance, and then rises, so the heat never gets to that end of the room. And you can't buy the existing type of heater now. You have to buy the newer model.
LCD ones.
So the idea was to buy 3. In fact, we already have a newer style, I think, in the changing room. But the idea was, because it's more economical to buy 3, and as these others fail, as you rightly point out, they could also be switched off. It just seemed more economical and more logical. We certainly need one for that end of the room, for sure. And that's why 3 seems more economical and more logical.
Okay.
And like you say, it solves the problem of
And then they
somebody.
can't be tampered with.
Somebody said, yeah. The other day I noticed, I noticed the other day that the heater at the opposite end of the room was melting. It was absolutely boiling, but of course it wasn't heating the room, and the thermostat was never turning it off because that end of the room wasn't warming up. So the whole room wasn't warming up, and yet they were going absolutely. I mean, you couldn't touch them. So what
Do
we
you know
have at the
how long
moment.
they have been on?
Pardon me?
Do you know how long they have been on?
Yes, we'd put them on at what times did we arrive? 7:30, about 7:30 to warm it up. It went off at 1:30, I think, or 1. And they'd been belting all that. Well, I'm assuming all of that time. So
Okay.
what we have at the moment is not economical, largely because of that end of the room hasn't got the heater on it, which was removed to build some cupboards, which we never did in the end, and we're not going to do. So
Okay.
That's
so
where the proposal comes
basically
in.
this is asking to reinstate the heater in the north wall of the pavilion and replace the two that are on the existing walls with the LCD version.
yes,
Okay.
I mean, I'll propose it.
It's got to go down that route to be able to use the remote control of that.
Well, you can use the remote at the moment. We're doing that, but yes, it'll still be compatible.
So I'm happy. You're Okay, I'll second that. All in favour?
Perfect, thank you.
Next item. To review the current email accounts. Okay, so you'll find information on this in the officer report. So where are we with? Yeah, I think- yeah.
So,
We will need how many emails accounts for a full council?
11 councillors. Mayor. 2 staff. And minute secretary.
can I just ask what we're being asked to do here? Sorry, presumably we're not paying for email boxes of councillors who have left. I think we pay, how many mailboxes do we pay for at the moment? Presumably just the ones that are in use.
Right, so we pay £20 a year, or we did pay £20 a year to issue. The £20 was paid before, the majority of them was paid before Cloudy.
Yeah.
So that was paid for this year. And then there were 2 paid in November, which was agreed at full council, and that was for Councillor Harrison and Councillor Hilliard because they had joined in
Sort of mid-season, yeah.
and when Vision sent email invoices, it just said how many, and it didn't list the invoices.
Mm.
So
It didn't list the mailboxes.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's right, yeah.
the email accounts. So I pursued Vision and asked them exactly which ones we had. I had asked for them to delete some of them. And so you've got the list of what is there, but what we pay Cloudy is not for the email accounts, that's for the Microsoft.
For the 365 account, yeah, Chris can probably explain this better. So we don't pay. So Vision own these, do they? I thought all of this had gone to
No.
Cloudy.
Because then that's what the issue was when I asked Cloudy before Christmas, when it was raised at the December meeting that we shouldn't be paying Vision for the email accounts. I went to Cloudy and I was told Vision still own.
Yes, no, I've read that, right, but that was incorrect information.
It was,
Yeah,
that was
okay.
what Cloudy told me.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fine.
And
So,
they have now said, no, that was wrong.
so Vision have nothing to do with these.
I don't believe so. It's all under Cloudy.
That's what I was hoping was the case. So,
And Vision have said they would credit, but they said they would credit on next year's website, so next financial year's website. And I said, no, I'd like a credit before that because of the
Mm.
accounts. But nothing has come from them.
So when did we last pay Vision for anything?
November. But there's 2 accounts.
So why are we paying Vision for 2 new accounts when we're already on board with Cody?
Because they gave us the incorrect information.
They sent
That
us,
was afterwards, that was December.
they sent us an invoice.
Mm.
It came from Vision, £20 per email account.
Mm.
I did not realise that Cloudy, being with Cloudy meant that we didn't have to pay that £20 per
Okay,
email.
okay.
But we've not had a refund from Vision.
That's correct if I'm wrong though. We've been paying for Councillor Ackroyd, Councillor Johnson, and Councillor Farina email accounts for the last however many years, correct?
Well, since they were started, not for the.
But since the way beyond after they left.
Yes, councillor,
So it's not they're not £20 each, are they?
Yeah, they're £20 each per year.
Right, so why have we been paying, although it says requested, this is deleted, does that mean we've been paying for it?
Since they left, is how I understand.
yes, it is. And as I said, they don't give a list of the email accounts. So didn't know that they were still charging for those.
But I take it there was no action taken when the councillor resigned to go and close the email account down.
That's what I can't
There
understand.
was action taken. The initial action when a councillor resigns is to change the password so that the councillor no longer has access, and then it's kept. And when it's next renewed, we ask-
Excuse me, could the clerk speak up, please? Because it's very, very hard to hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Right, so requested, this is deleted and archived to be deleted. All of these, but we're still paying for them. We're still paying for
paid
all of
for them
these.
last year. But
Last
they
year.
had to be, as I was saying, they are asked to be deleted rather than renewed.
Okay,
It seems Vision didn't do that.
right, so 1, 2, 3.
Right, so we need
Does
all
the-
of these ones which Vision have been charging us for to stop.
Oh, yeah.
All of them stopped completely.
Oh, right.
Because we don't pay.
So we're looking
Vision
for the
anymore.
refund.
We're looking for the refund for the 2. I'll try and get a refund for the ones that we had asked that they deleted.
Right. Well, that
So what
doesn't
about
need
these
to be-
councillors who left some time ago?
You've
We
been
need-
paying for those since they've been gone.
Right, so we need a oh, you didn't tell. So we shouldn't have been paying for, say, for example, councillor Ackroyd. It says requested, this is deleted. When was that request? And have you got a record of it? And therefore,
As I thought just said, when a councillor resigns, we change their password so they don't have access, but the account is kept until it needs to be renewed, and then we ask them not to renew it. They didn't do that.
have you got records of asking them not to
Probably
renew it?
not, because it would have been Mark and Liz who would have done it. It might be on their emails. But that was the standard thing
So
that we did.
Sorry, but the only thing I struggle with, not saying what you're saying is wrong, but there would have been annual invoices coming in,
Right, I'll show you an invoice that we get from them.
but based on the amounts and divided by the number of accounts, you would know how many accounts you're paying for.
That's what they sent. It's
So,
no
yeah, so
information.
no,
on
but
what-
there's £360. Divide that by 20. That tells you how many accounts you're paying for. So it's 50, well, it's 20 including that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 360 divided by 20 tells you how many accounts you're paying for. So that, I'm afraid to say, that would be a simple check to work out that we're paying for 4 more accounts than we actually needed.
15 accounts, 11 councillors, 2 staff, mayor, and minute secretary.
Does the minute secretary use minute secretary act? Do you use the minute secretary? No.
So why do we pay for it? So yeah, so they, as you say, so 15 accounts should have been £300. It's 360. So you can,
Because it's got VAT on it.
yeah, but it's 300. Let's call it £300 including VAT for 15. 15 times 20 is 300.
It's £20 plus VAT.
No, it's 15 plus VAT. You just said that. It's £20 total gross.
Yeah, I thought it was £20 including VAT.
No,
It says it on the invoice.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was about £16.
it's £20 plus VAT.
Yes, £20 plus VAT. So what you're saying,
So 15 times 2 is 30, so that's 300, which 15 accounts.
so it's not VAT, so it's 360.
Including that.
Oh, yeah, that would include 20% VAT, wouldn't it? Because,
Yes.
so it's £300, yeah.
So
But there's more than 15 listed on this list.
yeah,
That's what confuses me. And also what confuses me is what are we being asked to do here in this meeting right now?
You asked for a review of the email accounts.
Oh, right.
So basically, this needs
So we need to ask for a review.
Vision ICT to,
Give us some money back.
yes,
Hmm.
right. Well, let's do that then.
We need to specify what we're asking for, don't we?
I'd challenge this invoice. This invoice is wrong.
Why?
Well, because it's saying that that number, it's got the VAT in, it's how the invoice is made out is incorrect. And what I don't, it still doesn't answer the question that Charlotte's just asked, which is how on earth does, how have we got an invoice for 15, but we've got all these accounts listed?
Because then we have another couple later in the year.
When new councillors start.
But in that case, we haven't been paying, this is what I'm not.
Whenever a new councillor starts, they don't take an old account. So say a councillor resigns in October and a new councillor is co-opted in January, as happened last year. The two new councillors, their accounts start in January, but the ones that ended in October, they run for the whole year because you pay £20 per year per email.
You're presenting
Plus
us,
VAT.
you're presenting us with 18 accounts. You're telling us we're paying for 15.
No, I think that invoice is for 15, which is what we got, and you look at it and you think, we've got 15 accounts.
I think this is 15 because it is actually dated the 1st of June. So it was before we migrated over to Cloudy.
Yeah. So like that's starting to get somewhere now, I think.
So, so we've got,
No, but you presented us with 18 accounts. You presented us with an invoice from June. Why have you not called up Vision before this meeting and told us what our exact current charges are? What we should expect at the end of the year?
Well, now we shouldn't be paying anything because we've gone to Cloudy.
That's why I can't understand why it's come to this meeting. We already established in previous meetings that we're solely with Cloudy and we shouldn't be paying Vision anything except, I believe, for the website. But
And the website.
yeah, so I don't understand why this isn't business as usual and why we have to come to a committee about it, with all due respect. You know, we shouldn't be paying them for anything. The question is, when did you tell them what? And therefore, how much are we in the wrong for not telling them when to stop? I mean, presumably we should have shut the whole thing off on the 9th of July when we joined Vision. But unless we can prove we told them that, then we're a bit on, you know, we can't expect them to refund us, is my understanding. But I think it's just business as usual. I don't think the committee needs to be.
I think we just move on and get what we can from Vision ICT. If they're going to give us any refund, well, we shouldn't be paying anything. Second item in council IT is to review the current access to Wilton Town Council documents, assess the risk. So the question is, are we operating riskily at the moment by using everything on SharePoint? Can you see every document that's on the town council file system?
You can if the clerk doesn't password protect the ones that need to be.
Is that done by document or is
It
it
can be done by
folder?
document, be done by any which way you like. It can be done by permissions.
Because we will have sensitive information on the system, won't we? That really should be restricted access,
I don't
in
know.
my view.
Don't know.
Why are pavilion booking forms?
Contain names, addresses.
Yeah,
personal
because-
details.
Do we need the addresses on the booking form?
People hire.
We need to know where to invoice them.
We do that electronically, surely.
We still enter in the details.
Okay, I'm no expert on SharePoint, so I may say something technically incorrect, but it was my understanding that you can have, I'm not sure of the vocabulary, areas or groups. At the moment, we've got operations and facilities, right? So surely a similar setup, maybe I would accept for private cemetery information. And when I say private cemetery information, I mean the names and addresses of the people dealing with the town clerk regarding cemetery matters. Staffing issues should be just for the staffing committee, I'd have thought. That's fair enough. Pavilion booking forms. Okay. Invoices, you're probably going to say for the same reason, but it comes back to the fact that this is council data and councillors are under the code of conduct, you know, obliged to not misuse this information and not go. I mean, heaven help a councillor is so bored he wants to go rifling through for some invoices just to see what's on. You know, councillors have a duty to treat this data with the confidentiality that it warrants. And, you know, I just think it's a bit odd. I'm just worried as to where one would draw the line. You know, a member of staff may then feel that there's lots of stuff that should be kept in confidential places. And I think we need to remember, as I say, it's council data, not staff's private library. That's all, with the caveats that I mentioned.
Do we have professional people that would guide us on this?
I just speak to Cloudy and they said we shouldn't be doing what we're doing, which they set it up. So
Which part of what we're doing, sorry, that they don't think we should do?
the areas I have listed shouldn't be.
Staffing cemetery. Oh, those areas that you've listed shouldn't be.
So the councillors shouldn't have the access to the personal information. And with regards to putting passwords on, a lot of the information is historic. And I did flag this up at the time. And I am just flagging it up to the council that there is a risk. I've been told there is a risk, so I'm flagging it up to the council. There is a risk of GDPR breach. There was a member of staff who had access to documents before they started work. That was a GDPR breach.
I think we need to. Oh, gee.
Substantiate it, please. How was it a GDPR breach?
Because they were not employed by the council when they had access.
They'd signed a contract, so there was an agreement in place. So it just explained to me how it's a GDPR breach. I'm fascinated to understand it.
I was told
By
that
who?
Audi that until they start work, they shouldn't have access. Cloudy, again, they set it up. I was also informed that member of staff, who actually at the time wasn't a member of staff, had access before the contract was signed. I don't know if that's the case or not, because I haven't spent time looking to see who accessed documents when. I am, as I say, just flagging it up to the council that there is a risk. The Information Commissioner said it shouldn't happen, and flagging it up to the council.
I did ask you. Sorry.
So am I understanding this correctly? There is the mechanism as we work at the moment to be able to put files in areas which are restricted access rather than just being general open access.
Not that I am aware of. I could put a password on them, on some of them. Sometimes I'm not allowed to put password, it doesn't allow it.
I think what this, I'm afraid to say, demonstrates is a training need, because there is absolutely, and Cloudy explained this at the time, and I think it was in your training as well, I might add, because of the groups and the structure of SharePoint, it could be set up so that councillors didn't have access to information that you didn't want to see, including on the use of your own OneDrive. I think was WhatsApp actually also talked about. I think you quoted that back to us. In answer to the question, it is completely, there is no mitigation there should we want to protect against the so-called GDPR breach. It's within the clerk's gift to be able to enable that completely.
And that can be done now?
Could be done tomorrow if the clerk knew how. And I think that's probably the crux of what we're getting to here, is that the clerk doesn't know how to.
I thought you went
But I
on some
think-
cloudy training recently.
I did, but we weren't doing things like that.
Okay.
And when I did my cloudy training, that week was pretty horrendous. That month was.
Hang on, let's not go there. I've never used SharePoint before, and I have quickly realised that it's very easy just to set up a group and add members. That is basic
So
stuff.
when you're adding members, you're agreeing those people. can
You
share
select the
that
people
group.
who can have access. Yes, it is basic stuff.
Fairness,
And the password on top.
but in fairness, it comes down to if the clerk is raising this as a risk to us, there's a potential for a GDPR breach because we are not using the tools that we've got as they're intended. Why has the clerk not asked us for training?
Mm.
That's the fundamental for me. We've talked about training requirements and training needs should be raised to us so that we can make sure they're provided. If you're saying that you don't know how to do this, and that's really the mitigation to our risk, why aren't you telling us so that we can then provide you with the training and the time to sufficiently understand how to mitigate these risks for the council? It's not for us to be able to do that. And ultimately, we need to have access to information to be able to do our roles.
Do.
Right, it seems to me as though we need to review our understanding of SharePoint. And that has to be a training session for all councillors and all members of staff. And as we have a new member of staff, hopefully joining us in the next few
Mm.
weeks, then maybe that's something that should be put.
That member of
That's right.
staff may already know how to use it. I think also we should keep in mind the actual risk. I mean, there was an example of a member of staff joining and having access before the start date. I mean, the risk was remarkably low, close to zero. You know, we mustn't lose sight of what the actual risk is. Like I say, councillors are bound by the code of conduct, staff are bound by their contracts. I
But we
personally,
don't need to put ourselves at that risk. We just need to-
well, as
All
exactly,
about
we
risk versus
don't need
benefit,
to.
isn't
If
it?
sorry.
It's about risk versus benefit, sorry.
Of course, and there will be no risk once everybody understands how to use the system as
Okay.
it, that's why a key feature of this package, you know, is who's got what access. Am I allowed to ask what the clerk did cover in cloudy training recently?
Yeah.
I don't need.
No, we looked at Leap. It was a really good day because actually being just away from the office and able to play with
Yeah.
Microsoft was really good. We looked at Leap and
Loop. Okay.
and I set myself some tasks on it. And the decisions app, there was a cost to it, but they wouldn't tell us what the cost was. And then we had a session on resilience and
Resilience.
resilience.
What sort of resilience?
Clerks dealing with the stress of the role.
Oh, I thought it was cloudy training. I thought it was training with cloudy, sorry.
It was.
Okay.
They put that in because
I didn't
they
realise that.
recognise that it's a very stressful job.
Yeah.
And Gillingham Town Council use AI, warnings about using AI because it's not perfect, but there's some really big positives on it. So yeah, it was a worthwhile day.
Oh, so the agenda was pre-prescribed sort of thing. The what you've just told us there was prescribed already before you joined the training. It was a set agenda, right? Okay, thank you.
I have just found a free SharePoint help and learning thing that seems quite in depth. Just emailed it to Claire.
Can you email it to me, please?
Yeah.
I'd like to do that.
There's lots of free training on the
Yeah.
Microsoft website. isn't
Yes, it's on their actual website.
Oh, okay.
And if you log in.
Okay.
So yeah, there's loads of free stuff out there that we can use and benefit from.
For those people who do this in their work, etc., is it, you find it easier to use an online session or to be face to face with an instructor and going through this?
I find it easier to do it and learn as you do it, to be honest. And make
Okay.
mistakes. I've never done any training for any of it. I've just learned on the job.
But you can make mistakes.
Yeah, but not that you're gonna mess up massively. It's all you can unwind at anything that you do.
Like with my links.
Yes. So
Now we learned how to
Yeah.
do it.
and Google is a wonderful thing. But, tell me how to do.
So does this lead into what's happening with regard to access to SharePoint for councillors from the 1st to the 6th of May? What are we concerned about here? That
Well,
after the elections,
the elections on the 1st of May, councillors will get the results on the Friday. They have said they're doing the count on Friday.
Have they committed to that? Sorry, because it's usually not till Saturday or Sunday, isn't it? They've actually.
They've said they do it on Friday.
Okay.
And so the count, I don't know whether all councillors, all candidates will be elected. We know on the 3rd of April how many people are standing. But last time there were 15 people standing and obviously only 11 got elected. So that would mean that you had 4 potential councillors who had SharePoint access. So it's just, again, it's flagging up. I will be sending all the documents as attachments rather than SharePoint because new candidates will not have SharePoint access. Cloudy said to me the best thing to do is to freeze the councillor access from 1st of May
So none of us will be able to do anything.
for that weekend.
That was still in post until
Tuesday.
You see, again, it's about risk. I'm genuinely trying to establish a scenario, think of a scenario where some information could be misused that wouldn't otherwise
could have been misused.
at any time. You know, a councillor is not likely to think, oh, I really want to delve into some private information and misuse it, but I'll leave it until the day after the election because, you know, I mean, that's.
Do we then list a password protecting all the documents first? On SharePoint?
Why would we do that? Because councillors are in post until, did you tell us, Claire, midnight?
Yeah, it's 11.
Yeah.
11:59 or midnight.
Whether you're elected or not on the.
Oh, yes, even if you're not elected,
You're still in post till the Tuesday.
Yeah.
because the
So we
new lot
should still
don't
have
take.
access.
But you see, normally councillors don't have access to those documents. In most councils. A lot of councils use SharePoint, but they don't have all their documents in SharePoint.
Only meeting.
meeting documents, policies, there's a lot of documents that you can have in SharePoint. And there's absolutely no risk at all because they're publicly available.
I don't think we've got a lot of risk,
Exactly.
to be honest, on who, dare I say it, who regularly uses SharePoint. Anyway,
Why would somebody misuse SharePoint in the 2 days after the election?
because there's always an audit trail, so you'd get found out anyway. Even
Well,
if
they
you
are
didn't do
then.
anything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you wouldn't get found out if you misused the information.
No, true.
Yeah.
But there's an audit trail of who's viewed it over that period of time.
But you wouldn't have to justify using it because you're entitled to, because you're still a councillor.
If you misused it.
There's still
then
an
be
audit trail.
taken-
Yes, I don't know. I'm not clever enough to work out how to misuse it, to be honest. I mean, you get someone's details and then you go and sell them. I mean, you know, that you would never know that, would you? Nobody else would ever know that. I just don't
Or you
see.
could publish a document that you shouldn't publish. I think that's more of a risk
Oh, okay.
rather than.
You put
Okay.
something on social media that you shouldn't, or something like that.
Okay.
And if you're not going to be a councillor, there's no complaints process.
Yeah, I really think I
All
really
right,
don't
you
think
can't
that's-
be pursued afterwards. Good.
Well, You probably get through courts, but generally there's standards.
I think. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to-
I propose that we don't need to take any contingency for that period.
I'll second
The
that.
6th of May.
Mm.
Seconder?
Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte.
I'll
All in
second
favour?
Yeah. Not being one that gets that.
Not in favour.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
So next item is moving on to managing the council's money to review the current budget income expenditure. Can you remind me what happens if there's a budget that's not spent on the financial year?
You can put it into a TMR.
Do you have to do that now? Or do you do it?
You can do it after you finish the financial year.
Okay, so you can,
I would.
got to the end of the financial year and you've got 5,000 left in the budget.
Close down, so we have. It would be ideal to have additional, we can just do that in second week of April, third week of April. Because you need to know it before you do close down.
So it doesn't just sit in that budget, there's like a carryover.
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think there's been a bit of confusion here because we did some earmark reserve. Are we doing EMRs now? Sorry, what we're doing first?
No.
What are we doing first?
On the EMR section.
Okay, sorry, what are we doing first? Sorry.
Well, it does say agree any environment should they be required. So if we decide we need to put money now into another account, that should be decided tonight.
Yes, it's been difficult.
We've already approved.
But we've still got 2 months to go on this because although I finished February, I haven't done the transfers for the EMRs.
That were agreed in December. So what we're looking at is not a totally true picture.
And this happened at full council.
We did it full council, done it full council before. We have a better idea, although we won't have the end of March.
I have an idea what's coming up though, at the end of March, won't we?
I find it difficult to decide what you're going to try and move now without knowing what's still in the pipeline to be processed. So
put it on full council.
I'd say that at this time next year, recommendations presented to us as to what should be done based on this. It shouldn't be down to us to look through it tonight and decide. Really.
Is it-
I
is it-
agree, that's what we've done in the past, but unfortunately, it's.
Is it a PNR task or is it full council? Moving money around.
Was P&R recommend to full council?
Right.
We
That's why
have
we've
had
been
a
on-
PNR before.
Yeah. Okay. Right, well, I'm going to ask that we consider that an environment on full council.
Can I just ask if Clark's competent in doing this work? Because there's a note here saying I started the training video this morning. Is it something you're competent in doing on Realtors?
It's doing the journaling, so it's reversing the journals.
Right,
And I need to do that training video.
okay.
Unfortunately, we had a bit of an issue with SSE this
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
And it seemed that every time I got back into it, it ran up again. So
It's just quite difficult for us because I'm no bookkeeper at all. And the thing is to come into a meeting and look down to me a miles and think, oh, shall we move this? I need time to think about it. I also need obviously the most current information, as we all do. And I think it would be handy if some suggestions were put to us, which we may or may not agree with, but you know, this, I think that would be handy for next year, if at this meeting we have.
well, hopefully I'll have it done for council, but
Okay. Okay,
Right. I think we have to kick that down the road and get that.
then the next one.
Same with the EMR. Because we need those updates put in that were approved before.
And I do apologise, I thought they were for next year's budget.
When we were doing the preset. Bank charges applied to town council accounts. We've got no choice, we have to pay them, don't we?
It does also mean that there will be a charge on the mayor's account.
Does the mayor use the mayor to collect your fundraising? So,
I did try to take the liberty of opening. It's £4.25 a month.
so
That's
the mayor's account,
the charge for having a mayor's account is £4.25 a month.
does the mayor use the mayor's account? I know you just said that. What was the answer?
Is there a parrot?
Yes, that's where I put donations to the mayor's field fund.
Oh, yeah.
Fundraising.
Sorry, I was trying to write notes on what we like.
I know.
Yeah.
It's £51 a year,
Yeah,
3 months, right?
yeah, but you need that, you need to be able to operate with that account.
Yeah, no, I understand. It gives transparency. You need it separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
And the trouble is, all very few banks do those now, and ones that do full charge.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get away from
Yeah,
that.
the general consensus in Clarking world is all banks are either doing it or bringing it in.
Okay, well, we've got no choice. I think.
So noted.
Noted. Consider the future of the neighbourhood planning group account. This account is not with the Wilton Town Council accounts, but uses the office address. There are no charges on this account, with no progress on the neighbourhood plan. The need for this account should be considered. And I agree. I think that account should be closed and the money transferred back to the town council. It's £5,001.
Is it the council's money?
It was the council's
Yes,
money that
okay.
was moved out.
Absolutely.
So that
fine.
neighbourhood plan.
Mm.
It's like, tricky bit is that I seem to be the only person with a name on that account.
So signatory.
Although there were 2 other signatories listed who don't have the access to the account.
And how many is it to sign? Only 2 of the 3.
One of them being our support officer.
So we took them off as signatories, forgetting that they was, yeah.
I don't think they've been removed as signatories.
No, they're listed
They
as still
was
as
three.
signatories, but they don't have the means.
Done anything with that.
But whilst we have that relationship with one of the other signatories, in the
We
office.
should
Let's make,
process an
yeah,
application.
let's make use of that and get the
Probably need a resolution of the full council.
close the account.
It's
You only need that if you're missing something. If you don't have the correct signatories to sign the paperwork.
No, I mean with the council.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, I think you need to go to the bank with a resolution.
Would you if you
Which-
only had one
Yes,
signature?
yeah,
Or
sorry.
none?
Sorry, we're
I've been
talking
there.
cross purposes. sorry.
So that needs to happen sooner.
Sooner rather than, well, and also, and then it gets it closed off sooner rather than later.
So that's an application form you do.
You just better write them a letter. And back to sign
Okay,
it. Where you, and
because
then-
you're transferring money and closing the account.
yeah, please close this account and transfer the funds to.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right.
That's a very abbreviated version, by the way.
Yeah, I know it is. So I'll propose that we do that, close that account. and money back to the bank. Next
Are you
item,
proposing that?
yes. Seconder,
I'll second it.
all in favour? Right, thank you. Utility charges, current contract expires on the 31st of March.
We can't do anything with this, Mr. Mayor. Because the we haven't got up-to-date information. Up-to-date information wasn't used to get this basically screen print off the website. There's as far as I'm aware, the latest usage meter readings, and I don't know if they're being submitted at the moment, but I'm putting them on the spreadsheet as and when I read them. I think you've done that yourself in the past. But the papers that were presented to us in this meeting were not quotes, they're just, well, I don't quite know what they are, to be honest. They're certainly not quotes. They're presented to us as though they are quotes. But what drew,
They're first comparison, don't they? So-
I was told they were quotes by the management utility. He used the word quotes.
okay,
I mean-
he used the word quotes. They presented us to, what drew my attention to it was in the top, I've not even got it open because it's not worth my time. In the top, it says the number of kilowatt hours, 9,000 and something is on one of them. Well, we're not using anything like that amount on whichever particular site it was. And it's just wrong. And also, why is there no allowance for solar? We're creating solar energy and selling it, I think, at about 7p a kilowatt hour, guesstimation. When did Clark last read the solar energy meter? Can you answer me that question?
I haven't.
Right, so there's no factor
It's a
in,
smart meter.
But at the end of the day,
but we don't know if it's right or wrong.
are we not just choosing a company on the basis of? the
How can we
standing-
choose a company on the basis of what looks cheaper on that piece of paper? And it's
Because
not
you-
whole of market, surely.
But we're,
We need to factor in what we're creating. A quick Google search I did, literally while waiting for the kettle to boil. I could sell at 15p and buy at 22p. Now, admittedly, that's obviously not what I'd expect to get. There will be clauses with that. But it proves that we need to factor in our solar. We need to use our own energy to heat our own hot water, etc. That's a separate.
yeah, but
But-
this is the utility.
This is not research. This is a screen print, and we're being asked to go with a provider. This is not. I don't suppose it's whole of market. And just what looks cheaper on that piece of paper depends on that usage. That is not our usage. We need to submit readings and get accurate quotes. And I'm horrified, actually, that the clerk presented what I believed was a quote. And some people around this table, and I don't blame them, don't know what our usage is. I've got a vague idea of what the usage is because I occasionally upload meter readings. And that's what alerted me to the fact that this is not a quote. And I'm annoyed that the clerk let us believe it was a quote. But it's not a quote. It doesn't
But this-
represent Wilton or any of our properties. And it's absolute nonsense that this was presented to us.
Surely all this is telling you is how much they're charging per kilowatt hour and how much the standing charge per day is.
Which I suspect will be different depending on how much one uses. Some providers will vary the standing charge depending on the usage. I don't know that for sure. I'm not a energy salesperson.
I
But
don't think it's unreasonable. I do agree with what Charles said. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect, given this is being presented, given the time, that one would suggest it may have been a priority to go and check the meter readings before the quotes were submitted or requested, should I say. I would have thought lining it up for a meeting makes it a priority that I need to go and get meter readings in order to present this to the council to make a decision. But that doesn't appear to have happened.
we don't have sufficient, we don't have accurate information upon which we can make a decision in this committee right now.
Are we going to get the annual figure for our consumption in each of these locations?
I'll look on the spreadsheet for you if you like. Just give me a minute. It depends when the first readings were uploaded. I'm trying to remember where they are. If anybody else is in SharePoint, by all means, try and find the meter readings.
Have you uploaded it, Charlotte?
Yes, and I can't remember. I have indeed. It's an Excel spreadsheet called meter readings, I think, or electricity, or
How long ago did you do it? Do you know?
well, it's an ongoing thing. It's been there for months, but I've not noticed the clerk using it, I have to say. Utilities, hang on, I think it's in operations utilities.
They rang me up and they said, would you like us to provide quotes? And I said, yes.
So have they contacted our current supplier?
Yeah, because they set it up. I think it was 3 years ago when we last did this.
But our current supply doesn't have an accurate reading, right? Because we haven't submitted it. Is that correct?
Well, apart from council offices, which is a smart meter.
So it's not an accurate, they haven't got an accurate meter reading. No.
Meter readings, 1121. That's it. Where is it? So it's really difficult with this filing system. I've tried to. I thought it was noted.
If we take the council building, which we know is accurate.
Do you want me to send them the meter readings and ask them to re-quote and bring it to the council?
We'll have to, because if council building is correct at 10,000. And pavilion is close to the council at 9,994, but there is a difference in the standing charge.
I would say the pavilion uses more.
So for the cemetery, the first one I've got is September 24. So no, we're
Okay.
not going to get.
Then I think we'll have to get the up-to-date meter readings and get re-quoted on these.
Yeah. It needs to include the solar because we'll get a better deal. I think it was Octopus I found. So we need meter readings from the solar. I can help with that. I've been reading it for the past couple of weeks. And we need
But-
to,
In the next 12 months, would there be a revision as to how we use that solar rather than paying it back into the grid?
there might well be indeed,
Okay.
but they don't know that, do they?
Okay, so we'll get meter readings and revisit this
Could I please ask also that I don't know anything about, is it utility aid? I don't know anything about them, but are they whole of market? Could the clerk confirm? And if they're not, could we please try Octopus? I think is a popular choice at the moment. And, you know, if utility aid are not whole of market, then we need to try some other principal suppliers. Scottish Power, for example, I think they might be.
Yes, they do.
Oh, electricity meter readings is in utility bills folder. Funny that.
Very logical.
Okay, so we'll move on to approve the terms of expenditure in the payment schedule.
Can I ask a question? I think you mentioned at one point, Claire, that the men's shed key cutting. Can you tell us what that was for? Because you said in an email you didn't know what it was for. Did you find out?
I was told cutting some
Uh,
Paula.
Okay. I don't. Hmm.
They sent an invoice for,
Why would they be doing it for Paula? She'd do it for herself. Seems a bit odd.
well, I assume it was for council padlocks.
Did you ask Paula?
I did, and she just said it was key cutting. So.
Okay.
I had, oh, it's already been paid, isn't it? So I got it with mine. Because it came in just after the last meeting, the following day. But yeah, it was the boards and the posts for the signs at Castle Meadow. And also key cutting. So in addition to the ones on the spreadsheet, Evatech have charged £90 to come out to disable the fire alarm, which needed to be disabled for the fly man to come and fog the council chamber, parlour and attic. So they came out disabled.
How much did they charge for that? 98?
90.
£90 to flip a switch. Next time, call my husband or Alan or Chris
And then they came back in the afternoon and
or Claire. That's the easiest thing in the world to do, and we just spent £90.
That was a bit sexist.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it
why I
was,
was
but-
thinking- Oh, sorry, that's £90 down the Swanee. That's an absolute waste of money.
Next one.
Only because I don't know how to do it, so I'd call.
Yeah, no.
Richard Hayes, various tasks. It does say on the invoice replace bench and tennis court shelter, which I did check, and it's actually the Gordon Hall shelter,
Yes.
not the tennis court shelter. That's £958.12. Glaston for allow the seats which were agreed at full council. Sorry, that's £2,692.12.
Oh, sorry.
4 benches. Leisure
They
benches.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
should be delivered this week, and they are being delivered to Friday Birdie. Compan for, if you can remember, the adventure play work which was authorised and ordered in December has finally been done, and that is £5,693.26. And I've got an invoice from Harvey and Snowden for the survey they did on the cemetery, and I have uploaded to that document. That's £250 plus VAT. I've also got an invoice, but it's not, but it's a quote from the Great Outdoor Gym Company, because we ordered some parts. The parts they sent, they didn't send enough postage, so I had to go and collect it, which £3.30. They said they'd credit that off our invoice, which I haven't received. But according to Paula, the stuff they've sent is not what we ordered.
So we haven't paid yet.
So that's coming in. That will be £263.
Right stuff.
Yeah, obviously we won't say it until.
Yeah.
And I will make sure we get that discount, because that was really frustrating.
Okay, so with those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additions to the pay schedule, I propose that.
It's not in the right microphone. No, I don't think so. I'll double check in a second. They'll probably hear me really loudly now. It's very close to it.
Are they still saying they can't hear you?
Yeah.
I propose that we accept that revised pay schedule.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Seconded, councillor Blackman. All in favour?
The purchase of the floor design to £17.99.
Oh, yeah.
Would it be possible, if you agree in principle, because we haven't actually got a covering invoice from it for this.
It's all bought online. Oh, you can create an invoice if you
If you
like, yeah.
can create an invoice to claim back, and obviously I'll keep this and attach it to this invoice, but I'll put it on the next payment schedule.
That would be great. If it's approved, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah. So attach the invoice.
I will upload it.
Absolutely.
Cover. Keep that. All the time. Yes, okay.
Okay. End of year. End of year is on 31st of March 2025. There is money set aside in the budget for outside provision. What have we got here? 2 options.
Yes, I did contact a local company as recommended by Councillor Blackman, but they haven't come back to me. They said they'd come back to me this
Okay.
evening. I also asked them if they did the partial cash.
So can I just establish, we're asking for financial support to do end of year and, a person to come and assist with end of year. Is that right? That's what I was going.
I think the more expensive companies do it than next.
Okay, so sorry, just so I understand what we're considering here, a person to assist with end of year and a person the same or different to assist with the HMRC. Right,
It's to
is that potentially the same person or not necessarily?
It could be if you used one of the companies. Yeah. The more expensive company, option 2. Don't do HMRC.
Okay. The thing of it is, I thought end of year didn't need to be done until sort of June time when we do our AGAR, is it? Is the end of year not needed for that, which isn't needed until?
So end of year, the end of year is the 31st of March. It cannot be done before mid-April. It would go to full council in May.
Okay, so we'll have a deputy by then, so you could be able potentially, because you said you couldn't.
Put this on there. We didn't.
Okay.
Anybody.
So you said you couldn't focus on it because of interruptions, phone going, etc., etc. I accept that. So once we've got the deputy in place, potentially you could go and sit in a quiet room and focus on it. Okay, so that's answered that question then. Don't need any assistance.
We'll review it. You don't have to do it until June, did you say?
No, I need to do it and April, May, because we've got the internal audit, then it comes to P&R in May, and then it goes to full council in June.
Is that in time to get it published by when it needs to be published by? That schedule you just, yeah. So actually, why would it need, if it's end of year finances, why does it need to go to P&R? Can it not just go straight to full council at the beginning of June? Or the beginning of July? I don't know what the AGAR date
It
is.
has to be done by the 30th of the June meeting, which
Must be-
is probably quite early this year, 3rd of June, off the top of my head. It has to go to the June meeting, so
The June full council meeting? Is that because
it
of
has
the,
to be signed off by full council, but it normally goes to P&R to go through it, a bit like the budget. So P&R can go through it, ask questions.
yeah, that doesn't, in reality, I don't think that's necessary at all, is it? But
Not for the cost.
no, not for end of year. I mean, I wouldn't be qualified to ask questions about that, for sure. But is it, I understand that it's based on this AGAR publication period, is that right? Yes, okay. And that is sometime in July or August?
So the AGAR has to be adopted, accepted by this council
Mm.
by the 30th of June.
Oh, by the 13th of June. Okay, that's fine. So it has to go to June
It
full
has
council.
to be published and allow, it's got to go straight back, not tilted. It's got to be published with inspection, available for the inspection of public rights.
Mm.
And that has to be done the first 10 working days of July have to be included in that. So it could start on the 10th of June and run for 20, I think it's 20 working days.
Oh, but it has to include the first 10 days of July.
It
Yes,
has
okay.
to.
So even if it started on the 1st of July, our council meeting would be too late. So yeah, I get it. It has
So
to
we have to have signed it by
that
30th
date.
of June.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So basically, the answer to this debate is that we don't need, it's not a timing factor. The end of year accounts don't need to be approved until the June full council meeting.
But it could be, I mean, when this was put on there, it was before, this agenda was started before interviews. So
Okay,
I have no idea what was happening.
so we can come back to this at full council or?
Why would we
P&R
come
will
back
be
to it?
late. We wouldn't come back to it.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. I thought you said we'd come back to it.
I
Sorry.
mean, if we were in the situation we are in at the moment in the office, to be able to do the accounts, I think you might have to take a meeting out.
Well, my only other suggestion was going to be that you work in the room upstairs, you know, for agreed time that you wouldn't otherwise be in the office. But the time that you would normally be in the office, you work upstairs without the phone and the interruptions. That would have been my other proposal. But we don't need to make that proposal because it doesn't need to be done until the beginning of June, and you'll have an assistant to answer the phone and take all these interruptions that you say you get a lot of.
Okay. So that will be for 7, 8.
No, 8 is different. I have not done partial exemption calculation. I'm not a VAT specialist and I am not confident in doing that.
Okay,
What are they? Are they something you've not come across? I mean, I've no idea what a VAT partial exemption is.
It's where cemetery is exempt. So we don't charge on cemeteries that I think, reading the information, we should be charging on ERABs. Don't charge on burials.
And what have you done in previous years about these? Or do we not get this inquiry every year?
We don't get this inquiry every year.
So you've never had to answer this question before? Right, okay.
And it wasn't something that I just thought it was, you know, we charge VAT on the pavilion, but we don't charge VAT on the cemetery.
Yeah.
is
That's
there
how
a
it's
time
been.
deadline on this?
Yes, we've
This was
missed
more
it.
pressing, wasn't it?
We've missed it. It's the 6th of March or
Yeah,
something.
but that was for the first lot of questions. These questions were sent on the 10th of March and had to be
Oh.
answered by yesterday, which they were answered, and with the fact that I'm looking into the partial exemptions and That's
Right. So we need to approve some support for the HMRC exemption inquiry.
Yeah. Do we know how many hours it involves?
well, I did ask how much. And they're in the officer report.
£235.
Training.
Or
So the first one is,
Realtors, is that right?
Yeah.
Or 465 if you have already established a special scheme calculation. I presume we're in the first category.
I hope so, but I'm not entirely sure, I'm sorry.
So who's given you this quote? Okay. Um, Well, I think it needs to be done, so I would propose that we support the quote of £235.
I mean, if they come back and say, no, you need that one, you need the 465.
Did they do that then once they?
Haven't you asked our auditor? Sorry.
No, no.
Haven't you asked our auditor?
No, I haven't.
The auditor will surely know. But which one it is?
I can ask the auditor, but
You know, I hate to say it, but it just feels like when they ask to approve something, we don't know if it's the right thing.
Mm.
Quick call to the auditor, I would hope, answer it. Maybe bring it back to full council.
it's urgent.
What's the consequence if it isn't done by that time, just because we need a little bit more time to get the right?
Well, it needs to be done in this financial year.
Okay.
It's within my delegated powers.
I think you just have to get up, crack on with this, and we don't want to be falling foul of HMRC. So I would have to just propose we support you going with the 235, unless it's been suggested that you have to do the special scheme calculation, which is 465.
Depending on what the auditor suggests.
I agree to ask the auditor, so
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I'm struggling to comment because I've no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to VAT.
I don't really understand it either. I'd rather a professional.
So if you contact the auditor and
Mm.
which approach you need to take.
Yeah,
on
because
this,
there's no point
and
signing up
just
for one if
use
it's
your
all-
delegated
yeah.
powers.
I definitely would have the second one.
without knowing that it's needed. Yeah, sure.
But what I didn't want is you approve the lower one and then they come back and say, no, actually, you need the higher one. Just want to cover all bases, really.
Can I just say on the first return that you filled in, it said the deputy clerk will have access to the finances and realtors and stuff like that. That's not true.
Why
Deputy-
not?
No, because,
Okay.
well, it's not in the job description or anything, is it? So, I mean, that may change in the future, but certainly not.
Okay, so we go with that.
You're proposing,
Then you contact the auditor and find out which of these two accounting software approaches you take. Use your delegated powers to impose somebody to take you down that route. Next item, seconder. Seconder to that,
Yes, sorry.
all in favour?
I'm against not insufficient information in the officer report.
Are you for or against, Charlotte?
Well, I'm going to abstain because I really don't know. I'm afraid I don't understand the subject, which may be in line with not enough information. I don't really understand what I've been asked to do.
Payment of invoices to review the current process and if required, recommend changes to full council. Are we going to change?
This is where I'm getting emails of pay now. The debit card was set up for internet payment and for the direct debits. The reason the debit card was initially set up was mainly so we could do the Microsoft 365. No, it wasn't 365 then. The Microsoft standard. Because they needed a debit card. And obviously we didn't have a debit card. But I'm getting invoices quite often saying please pay straight away. Rather than them wait to go on the pay schedule.
Well, the reason for that, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is I suspect largely the clerk may be referring to other things, but the ones I'm aware of that she's probably referring to is the stuff that our officer is doing. And obviously, she is working apace and getting things done, and invoices come in as a consequence of that. Some of them are small trades, and obviously we want to pay them promptly, particularly small trades. And besides, the officer is obviously going to present them immediately because it's not for her to decide when she should or shouldn't otherwise ask for the invoice to be paid. So obviously they're going to come in as and when from her. She doesn't have a decision-making process as to when to submit it, right? I think we can agree on that. I would also hope that, as I say, small trades, I'm not quite sure what the clerk's asking us to do. Is it a question of not pay so often, or?
If somebody submitted an invoice which says pay within 30 days, please, then okay.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But then some of them are 7 days, which may be the ones that's been referred
Okay.
to. I'm guessing, you know.
Sorry?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, Vortex, sorry.
So what is it we're being asked to do?
It's to review the process. We had a discussion about this on Saturday. I had an email with invoice attached. Please pay this on a debit card. Looked at the invoice and it said that if I paid on the debit card, there was an additional fee. The deadline was the date of the meeting when we were next payment schedule.
Oh, right, this is,
I
yeah.
contacted the supplier and spoke to him after a few answer phone messages, and he said it was absolutely fine.
Okay, so what's the problem here? So Paula submitted the invoice saying, please pay promptly. Paula is not the financial person. She's not to interrogate the payment terms other than checking the amount is as per quote. I would expect her
I
to do
then
that.
get follow-up emails saying, can you not just pay it? Just pay it.
Did you not explain to her that you've spoken to the supplier, he's happy with a week's time, end of? It's managing the situation that is the issue here.
Did explain. It was, can you not just pay it?
Okay, well, I'll have a word with Paula then.
I spoke to you and you said bring it, put it on the agenda. I put it on the agenda. Why did I say that? On Friday the 7th when I spoke.
No, not when, I said why.
Under our financial regulations, anything under £1,000 doesn't need to sit into a meeting anyway.
No.
It's more the time it takes to go onto the bank, upload the payment, email the councillors, chase the payment.
Right, so that's what this is really about, not that particular invoice. That was, you were in a rush that day, as were we all. So I just said, put it on the agenda because now isn't the time to talk about it. You did tell me you had a lot to do that day, which is fine. which is why it's on the agenda. But the issue really is the frequency with which you're being asked to upload an invoice on the bank. I understand. That's really the nub of it, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Did we
Fine.
not provision the officer with means of?
Not making payments. No.
Right.
No. I don't think that would. No. But I get
So-
it. So it's the question of how often.
Yeah, what frequency?
Yeah.
We expect the clerk to do an upload.
And then email people, members to say this payment. I mean, that, Yeah. oh, no,
1 week?
once a week at least. Surely. I put twice a week here, but once a week would allow for 7 days payment terms, wouldn't it?
Once a week for,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, happy?
Yes, is that all
Propose
we're,
that.
is that
So,
all we're
yeah.
being asked to do?
Yeah,
So once a week,
once a week, the clerk can do a payment upload to the bank.
Of all invoices, yeah.
Yeah, all
For that week,
invoices
yeah.
come through.
And then, you see, presumably, sorry, I think as part of this discussion, as the clerk did tonight, we would just like to see maybe a standing item on the background report or on the agenda. I'm trying to work this out of payments that you've done since the last meeting.
do you not want them on the pay schedule?
On the pay schedule, so underneath the pay schedule.
I did
Well,
tonight.
Oh, so in the pay schedule, but marked as already paid. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, yeah.
Noticed it.
Yeah.
I looked at it last week, not today.
Yeah, no, but those are the payments.
Yes.
This one said authorise.
Yes, okay, brilliant. That works
Okay.
for me.
Once a week then. I'll propose that.
I'll second that.
Second
Yeah,
that.
Chris,
All in favour?
yes, yes.
Payment of staff salaries, this is.
This is, it's not me, it's for the other staff. If all the signatories or only one signatory is re-elected, the risk of the staff payments not being made.
They're paid on the 25th. This is what I didn't understand. Sorry, the staff salaries are paid on the 25th, yes? So April 25th payments will be made?
Yeah.
Are you worried about May salaries, May 25th salaries? If the signatories aren't
Even if
re-elected?
you've got one signatory
Yes,
or no signatories.
right, so if the,
You have the risk where you cannot make payments.
You'll have to go through the bank process to set up your signatories, aren't you?
This has been a risk every year, right?
yeah,
Or every election.
what's different this year?
I don't know.
So, yeah. Why now?
I don't understand. That's why it's confusing me why we're being asked. I get your point in theory, but I can't recall having this discussion before the previous election. Maybe we did, and
Maybe it was fairly obvious compliment to councillors who'd be carrying forward, and therefore you knew you had a good chance of having 2 or 3 who might have signatories, and therefore it wasn't an issue.
maybe with hindsight we could say that, but you should never really say that, should you?
I know.
But I don't understand, even if, what were the mitigations last time then? If the clerk brought this to our attention last time and we had this debate last time, what were the mitigations other than assuming it'll be all right, which is all we can do this
I
time, isn't
didn't
it?
bring it to your attention because I had just started.
Oh, yeah, were you still locuming at that time?
No, I started on the 1st of February as full-time,
Okay.
part-time, permanent, that's the word. But
It didn't get discussed last time. Okay, well,
I didn't consider it as a risk. I'm just,
well, again, we've got to see decide what the risk is, isn't it, don't we? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 signatories at the moment, is that right? One's not standing, one's undecided, and the other 2, as far as we know, are standing. So,
I would say statistically the chances are good
exactly,
that you'd have 2
yeah.
signatories.
again, I'm flagging it up for the council to decide.
I'm not sure what, in fairness, I'm not sure what we would do about it. It's a genuine question. What would we do about it right now? Other than promptly?
Put standing order in place.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
What the officer reports there.
Yes, you did, you did.
No, but that, yes,
So
that's for
on page-
salaries. That's for salaries, but for
That's what we're talking.
ad hoc payments, I thought
We're
we were
talking about salaries.
oh, you did say you got no method of making payments. Right, which we don't, if the signatures aren't, you won't be able to make any payments. will you? The signatures aren't elected, not just salaries. The same for any payment.
Yeah,
It is, but it's the staff salaries. There was several years ago a member of staff at Wilton Town Council who did not get paid on time, and it caused a great deal of stress to that member of staff because they had bills going out.
Was that just
So-
after an election?
It's so there is a risk.
It wasn't just after.
All
an
right.
election. There is a risk, yeah, but I don't actually, I mean, obviously, the day after we're in post, so the 6th of May or whatever that is,
Which is the day you've got the meeting.
which is the day we've got the meeting, but we can look round the room. And I think maybe that is something that will go on the agenda, is it not? To
It
consider,
it would definitely be on the agenda.
Okay.
To confirm the bank signatories.
okay, that's fine, that's all we can do,
Right,
isn't it?
okay. To note the update for the LGPS pension scheme, to note the year-end data is due by the 30th of April. To note the employee contribution rates with effect from the 1st of April. And to note the employer contribution rates with the effect of the 1st of April. And the table in the officer report shows what those rates are as of the 1st of April 2025. So we've noted that. Moving on to item 29, insurance. All right, I propose that was noted. Changes in
And you got your contribution sorted out.
It's
government pension scheme. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Blackman, all in favour? Insurance, to review the asset register for 2025, include add and removing items where required. I have made a start on trying to update the asset register. I simplified everything initially by putting it all in one sheet, every item. And now it's a matter of confirming the categories that they are. There are items to be added. You saw on the tab that said items to add to the system. So I put them in and categorize them, and I'll circulate the revision as soon as I've got that in a tidy form, as you see it happening with the tabs for the different headings.
How do we work, how do we know the, how do we work out the values of stuff, sorry?
It's put on the purchase price.
It's all on the purchase price, so we got that on the records, okay?
apart from some ground, land. it's always a pound.
Yeah, okay.
Can I check the purchase prices excluding that?
Yes. And there are some where we don't have the purchase price, and obviously I'm waiting for the new valuation.
Okay, next to consider the updated insurance valuations of assets of value. This is taking place on the 13th of March.
And it took place, and he's taken photographs of everything. There is one thing missing, which is the miniature on ivory Pembroke family after Van Dyke. 4 1/4 by 6.5 inches gilt frame. It's not very big.
Is it a photo or a painting or
It's
something?
a painting on ivory.
I don't remember ever seeing that.
It
When
was
you say it's
definitely-
missing, was it listed previously?
It was listed in 2018. And it doesn't say not seen, which it says with something else. So he saw it.
In 2018, he saw it, you mean?
Yeah.
But we could not find it.
Oh,
Okay.
The-
Something
the-
to investigate, maybe.
And the other thing, it will be in his report, but on the silver, the cutlery, 48 table knives, steel blades with ivory handles. They are not worth anything now because you cannot sell ivory, even if it's free a date before it, you could sell it, it was pre a certain date. Now, if it's a certain percentage ivory, you can't sell it.
So that just goes to naught.
And there's also the cheese knives, the carving knives, the carving forks, and the 12 large forks. They're all ivory handled. I'd hoped that they were silver blades, but they're steel. But they're not. So there will be a reduction.
So is that the final report, or is that just?
No, this is 2018 one.
Right.
I haven't received. He said it'd be a couple of weeks.
I know you said 27th of March, because I'm wondering how the insurer is able to quote when they.
That's the
That's this one.
buildings cost one. It's the 27th. Is that what you're
Assets
thinking
and
about,
value.
Charlotte?
Yes, sorry, getting ahead of myself.
All right. Very similar.
So the update on the reinstatement of building costs is taking place on the 27th of March. Will be just seen previously done by Herring.
And it's been done by William Wallace.
To consider the insurance quotes for the financial year 1st of April 2025 to 31st of March 2026. Comparative table, isn't it?
Well, not very comparative.
Oh, sorry, I need to ask for an extension. I propose an extension for
Half an hour.
30 minutes. Seconder, Councillor Harrison, all in favour? Thank you.
Well, it's a fait accompli, isn't it? I'm just wondering why do they leave it so late to tell you that we need an alarm on the safe? I suppose it's quite late that we asked them. Is that the answer to that?
No, I asked him in January.
Well, why did they suddenly tell you that?
I'm really frustrated.
So is that work we need to get done? Because if we can't shop around for insurance, then potentially that's work we need to get done, isn't it, next year? During next year. Okay. Can that go on the next P&R agenda, I guess? Please.
I don't know whether you want to wrap it up with doing the accessibility. Well, there might be an issue with having to move the safe anyway.
Okay.
Just
When you say wrap it up with the accessibility, though, I mean, I'm not sure what's on the agenda next for that.
with the toilets, accessible toilets at the council office. At the moment, the safe is between the two toilets.
Okay, as long as it's actively on the agenda, fine, great. I'm just wanting to establish that.
The alarm signing up, I think it's going to cost us more, but find out how much it's going to cost to be signed up so that it's monitored.
That's fine, as long as it's actively on the agenda, that's all I'm asking.
Is that ENA?
No, that would be the council.
Full council?
No, sorry, it'd be P&R.
Yeah, no, okay. So we're happy to choose one of these.
There's no choice.
Oh. Yeah, because they do. Yeah.
But I don't understand, Mr. Mayor, how they've been able to quote when they don't know the value of our buildings, they don't know the value of our valuables, and they don't know the value of our asset register. So how have they been able to quote?
They're quoting on what we currently have, which is the 2018 valuations.
I'm really struggling with this, the lateness of it. Obviously, I wouldn't vote against the council being insured, but I don't feel I can vote for this quote because it's not. surely there's the potential, when you submit the valuations, there's the potential for the quote to change radically. But we have no other choice, so
Go for this quote, but insist that we get a re-quote. What's our asset registers
Well,
and
we-
everything else are?
How does this work in terms of the timing? The insurance runs out on the 31st,
They-
midnight on the 31st.
Yeah.
If we've agreed with this committee that we go with them. I'm doing it up the word, be too close. And then they will be told that that's what's happening. And so it's just rubber stamping it at full council and paying it the next day.
It can't be paid the next day, right?
They can,
Ah,
because that's how councils can do it.
so even though they will put, if the building burnt down on the night of the 31st, and we hadn't paid them, we'd be able to claim.
That's what they've said in the past.
Have we got that in writing? Because that feels a little bit like our concerns about renting the pavilion for free. So I don't think we can say one to one, not to the other. It feels a little bit risky to me.
can we speak to them and ask for cover note for that, for the period?
Until we maybe get the new.
Yeah, will they do a cover note from expiry at midnight on the 31st till, I
I
don't know,
can ask.
well, you're gonna have to.
Alternatively, you have to put an extraordinary meeting in and approve it week before.
Actually, that was probably maybe easier. That may well be.
Like I believe was done last year.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did do it last year.
Before the 31st.
No, you had an extraordinary meeting for P&R last year.
No,
Yeah,
but
that's
before
what-
the 31st.
That's what he said. Yeah,
You
because
can't- well, the thing is, because of the value, it's got to go to full, obviously go to full council, isn't it, for approval?
Yeah.
And I don't understand how an insurer is going to insure everything without having payment. Or at least we'd have to have it in writing, otherwise we won't be insured.
but having an extraordinary meeting does solve the problem. When are we getting it? 27th? Oh, it's not.
It's 4 days.
We shouldn't be in this situation, Mr. Mayor. It's just
Unless you put in a
bonkers.
preemptive extraordinary meeting on the basis that you're going to receive the valuations on the 27th, and you put it in. That's when
I mean, it's like the one thing I've done last week, 2 weeks.
So what, we're not going to have them anyway.
I don't know whether, but we're definitely not going to have them on the 27th.
What has the insurer said about the fact that he hasn't got up-to-date valuations?
He knows we are getting.
Right, by when, what deadline did you give them?
Well, I said to him when I spoke to him in January that requested them. And when I emailed him the other week, I said, I haven't got them booked in yet because there had been a bit of an issue with the dates.
But one of them's not being done till the Thursday,
I know that it was going to be done
but you won't get the results, will we?
last week, week before,
Why wasn't it done, sorry?
No,
because it was objected to.
surely we can go ahead with this quotation as it is at the moment. And then when we get the revised documents, go back to them and they'll say, well, sorry, your premium's going to have to go up. Okay.
Well, have they said that?
No.
That's the problem that we've got, and that's the problem we face here tonight, is that question hasn't been asked. At the moment, we don't know for certain that we can even insure our assets at the time when they're going to expire, because unfortunately, as we all know, history doesn't count as fact. So we're in a very, very precarious position here tonight, because yes, we could prove that, but we don't know.
But it doesn't go to full council.
It has, but we've got no idea at this moment in time whether or not those insurers are prepared to insure us from midnight on the basis we haven't paid them,
On those
Or-
valuations.
or on those valuations. Based
They
on
are aware that the current valuations. They are aware that we are in the process of getting them updated. I will ask them if they can provide a cover note
But are they aware they won't have the valuations when they put us on risk? Well, it's possible they're not going to have the valuations when they put us on risk. Have they agreed to that?
It's exactly the same as we were in last year.
But have they agreed to it? that's the question.
I don't think it's quite the same as last year, because whereas last year was the last minute, I don't think we had quite the problem of.
Thing is, there could have been a policy change at the insurers. We won't take anyone on risk unless they've paid. It would have been something that's been made in the last year. The problem we have is we don't know. So we can't approve this.
So on the 31st,
So what Councillor Harrison is saying is if something happened at midnight on the 31st or on the 1st.
could you not set up a payment for that one?
But it still won't be paid, will it?
Right.
Even if you authorise it, it wouldn't go through until the next day.
But also, Mr. Mayor, this committee right now is asking for us to recommend. My understanding is that we're being asked to recommend this premium on those values, and they don't match. We can't recommend that. We can't recommend to full council, oh, well, yeah, pay the premium, whatever it is, once they've got the valuations. They're not going to get the valuations in time. The insurer is not going to get the valuations in time. So how does the insurer feel about that? I don't understand how he can quote, the insurer can quote without having up-to-date valuations.
On the basis of the
Which-
past.
Which is, yeah, absolutely. They
So
have.
we might be,
But when they get the
haven't-
new one,
But they haven't said that they will put us on risk on last year's valuation. Because like I said, if we don't get those valuations through until, let's say, I don't know, the 5th,
yes.
all right, the building burns down on the 4th. Are they going to honour the values on last year? Is that what they agreed to? That's the problem we've got here. This could have been achieved if these questions had been asked and we had got the assurance from the provider that, one, if they don't have the valuations in time, it's fine. We'll take it at last year's valuations if there's a claim. And two, if you haven't paid by midnight, it's okay. We'll cover you until you've paid the next day. If those two questions were answered, we'd be in a position to approve this tonight. And they haven't been, from what I can gather.
This has to go for approval at full council.
It does.
Agree? Okay.
with those questions answered, obviously.
Very hopefully, yes.
Well, I think they can be. It's just a phone call to the insurers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they'd have to be answered.
So you
Okay.
need an extraordinary full council next week.
No,
31st.
on the 31st, we'll
Okay.
approve this premium. provided
Assuming
we've
they
got-
say yes.
Yeah.
If they say no, then we have got a problem. Because we will need either an extraordinary full council. If they say no, we're not going to put you on risk unless you paid, then yeah, we've got a problem.
Am I still to ask if they would do a cover?
If they'll do a cover note,
I think you've got to ask them whatever is
Absolutely.
necessary to achieve the timelines that we've now got.
I think you better tell them this. If you're not sure what to ask, tell them the scenario. In fact, put it on an email, I would recommend, because, you know, obviously this is a really significant matter. And if you haven't got it in writing, you're going to look slightly awkward when the claim comes in and you haven't got anything in writing. So in your position, I would get it absolutely in writing and I explain the scenario. The meeting's on this date, the quote is this, we haven't got the valuations until such a time, and we won't be able to pay you until such a time. What will the quote be? You know, yeah. Tell them the scenario, and then you cannot be accused of not asking the right questions.
And dare I say, bear in mind, we've only got 2, and our regulations state we should have 3.
Mm.
Should we be asking for more quotes between now and then as well?
They won't quote because of the insurance valuation. They wouldn't quote last year because of the insurance valuation, which is why I've been trying to get the insurance valuation sorted out.
So there's no other providers that would quote in this on the same premise as this one has. And you could ask the same question that you're going to need to ask this one.
Well, there may be one, I haven't asked everybody, but I went to 4 providers last year and 2 of them came back and said, we can't do it until you've done the, one of them, there was an issue with the pavilion and the flood risk. So they wouldn't do it because of that. And one of them was, we want the up-to-date valuations.
Well, I'm not surprised they've got the up-to-date valuations, yeah. perfectly
It
reasonable.
makes it need more critical, the question has to be asked.
Exactly, yeah.
If there is, if you can get another quote at the same time, would you only provide them the same information that this insurer has already accepted? And those two questions, then I would try and get another quote, because our financial reg state, we should have 3. Obviously, it may not be possible, which we'll have to accept.
I'm slightly struggling with that, though. I mean, how do these buildings with masses of assets of high value, I mean, who insures them? I don't get it. I don't understand why there's so few options for, anyway.
Okay,
Two
so
of the companies I went to were brokers.
But if they're not whole of market brokers, then there must be other,
3 of them were brokers.
okay, so they're not whole of market, then if they're only off a panel,
East Europe who were
so if those brokers are working off a panel, that explains why they're telling you there's other people who won't, but there must be other people, other companies.
okay, moving on to planning then. Let's now to respond to following plan application and tree works applications. 113 North Street, single story flat roof extension. Alterations of ground floor layout, first floor layout. Any comments on this application?
Not from me. Oh, I've shot to the next one. So.
It's basically 2 properties side by side that
Yeah,
are being
and it's
realigned, repurposed.
and it's not. It doesn't affect the street scene anyway, does it? Really?
Well, it's still in the conservation area.
Yeah. External treatment of it. Yeah, real.
What I have difficulty with is the fact that the extension out the back that's going to be re-roofed is actually also going to be clad with metal. So it'll be like up and over metal sheeting. And all the other properties in that area, this is the terrace of Weaver's Cottages in North Street there. All the rest are red brick, or red brick painted, or red brick with painted render. Nothing with a sort of modern architectural, which I'm slightly uncomfortable with.
Yeah, but is this not, can't be seen from the street?
No, you can see it because it's the very last property.
Oh, it's the
Burdensbull Bridge. So when you're on the bridge, you can see the back
Right, got it.
extension out of the back of the property.
Gotcha.
So if it had been 2 properties further down, you wouldn't have seen it at all because it's been just hidden behind that.
113 North Street.
It's the very last property before you go over the last bridge. If you follow me,
Yes, I do.
Burdensbull.
I was
Bridge.
thinking of the wrong bridge. Sorry, I was thinking of the previous bridge. It's the next. Yeah. Okay. We'll make that as an observation, but apart from that, I don't think we have any objection.
I mean, I would propose that we just say no objection, but with a comment.
Yeah.
That it's unfortunate that the proposal uses metal cladding in what is acknowledged in the design and access statement from the applicant as a predominantly brick environment.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is-
Disappointing choice of material.
Yeah. And I just said the cladding will be. Right?
Can you send me
The cladding will be clearly visible from Burdensbull Bridge.
I'll second that,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Second application, recreation ground, Windsor Street.
I'll propose that.
My comment, I would suggest no objection, but I'd like to record that the English oak is of historic importance as it was planted in May 1912 by J.M. Swain's son and is supposedly grown from an acorn raised from a Jubilee oak on Groveley Down, as mentioned in A.G. Street's book on the history of the Chancellor. So that tree has a bit of
Yeah, still, that's why it needs to be looked after.
looked after. Yes.
Trees need to be looked after.
So I just propose no objection with that,
Mm.
note.
I thought Dr. Blackman proposed.
Yes. You proposed it, didn't you, before we'd started?
I did propose it. I'm happy to add his note, whatever that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I second it. That's fine. All in favour?
Mhm.
And the third one, another tree one. The garden apartment in West Lodge Street. Hazel to coppice down to half a metre and the mulberry to be found to ground level. Unfortunately, trees do lean, and that is leaning over the wall just at the back here. And I think it just has to be dealt with, I'm afraid. So no objection.
Yeah.
I have said support because I don't like any tree felling in the conservation area at all, but no objection.
Yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Next item is to review an update from the town clerk on progress with the health and safety action plan pursuant to resolution 62 of the March full council.
It's in progress, but not really started.
It's not started, but it's not in progress.
I did start something, but it's not really started. I wouldn't say there's much progress on it, but
Well, if I could just add, we're not. I'm expecting this to be a working document, an evolving document. So you could potentially make a start by just putting some key bullet points.
and
That's all right, but that's just a small element of it.
yeah. but
So the
thank
bullet
you.
points might be training, risk assessments, record keeping, whatever. But make a start and then, work in as you go along. That's my vision of it. Hopefully an update by next time we meet. Could you carry that item forward, please, to the next agenda?
Well, have we just agreed that we have health and safety as an agenda item?
Yes, but we still want to hear the clerk's action. But it's still
Yeah.
important that clerk produces.
It's due at full council, so, yeah.
It's exactly, so it could be on that agenda anyway. So.
Okay, so the next item, reports from policy working group. Well, I have to say there's nothing to report from that group because we haven't met on that.
No, but our officer is working on some of the policies.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, okay. And also a reminder to the clerk, please, about the meetings policy to be published.
And the events working group, there's nothing to report, further to report from the group since the ENA meeting on the 18th of February. I gave a report then, so.
I didn't hear that, so.
I to report that we town meeting, successful town meeting on the 10th of March.
Could we note that feedback from, did we already note the feedback from that meeting? I don't know if we did or not, but the feedback, as my understanding of it, was that perhaps the organiser and the refreshments provider need to speak to each other before the refreshments person goes home. Clearly that didn't happen. I mean, we may well laugh, but it was a bit disappointing, wasn't it? There was obviously a breakdown of communication in that element. So that needs to be firmed up next time. And also, of course, we again got some feedback about whether the questions and answers should be at the beginning or the end of the meeting. I have no opinion on that right now, but I think we should note that that was some feedback that we received, and it should be fed into the events working group in time for next meeting. Now's not the time to have that debate, is it?
Okay. Wilton Town Council website.
No, I did see some nice feedback, I think, on Facebook, thanking all for doing some update work. I'm sure I saw on Facebook an appreciation for some updates that you'd
The
done.
news.
News tab, okay,
The elections tab.
yeah. Thank you.
And town clerk's report. Any correspondence since the report was issued?
is the,
Sorry?
as is the. It's in the,
What's the request for internal review?
it was the response to the most recent Freedom of Information request. There was a request for an internal review, which I have forwarded to the Chair of Staffing.
Okay.
I had to, sorry, the CCTV not available. I don't think about CCTV. What does that mean? Not available?
When I put in the dates
Mm.
to remote playback, I think it's called on the tab,
Mm.
when I put in the dates, it kept on coming back as nothing. So I put in several options and it wouldn't play anything. So I thought, is it messing around? And tested it for the previous week and the previous day, and it was all fine. So I'm not quite sure why a period that should not have been overwritten was not available. And when EvaTech came in to do the alarm, I did ask him to check as well, because I thought maybe it's user error, and he said no, it's not there. So
While we're talking about CCTV, the clerk alluded to conversations with Salisbury. Are there some coming up, some plans, some?
if you recall last year, there was an approach from somebody at Salisbury about allowing them access to our CCTV, which Salisbury then said no to, because the person wasn't from Salisbury City Council, he was from the CCTV control room. I had a very, very brief discussion with the new clerk at Salisbury, and he said he's willing to discuss progress. So, yeah.
Because the Salisbury City Council controls the CCTV and the way it works.
The Salisbury
Yeah.
City Council controls their CCTV.
Yes, right. So the approach from the CCTV guy was inappropriate because it has to go through the council. That's what you're saying.
There were lots of reasons, but
Okay.
it was debated, I think, this committee. And new clerk has said it could be possible, so we're going to look into it. And it would mean that our CCTV could be viewed in the Salisbury control room.
I understand that.
Hill.
Yeah, I understand that. All I want to establish now is which agenda is that on? What do we have to do? What do you have to do? What happens next?
Well, I need to have a discussion with clerk at Salisbury and see whether
Okay,
it's viable. And then it will come back.
so you could perhaps update us when you've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
P&R?
I think it is P&R CCTV. Or it might be E&A, but I've got to have that conversation with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. I was going to say, do they have certain standards that stuff has to be at to be something they can monitor properly? Is our kit up to the job?
Could ask the question.
Okay.
I know what the answer's going to be. on
Okay. So finally, the date of the next meeting will be Tuesday, the 20th of May, 7 p.m, with the venue to be confirmed.